Hi, my name is Nitin Baduma, and today we'll be going over major themes in biology. Since this is the first video in the AP Biology series, we'll first start off with the basic discussion. What is biology? Biology is essentially the scientific study of life, and life can be represented by many different organisms such as flowers, fish, and humans. But what really is life? And as I'll be going over in the next several slides, there are many properties and processes that are associated with life. The first major theme in biology I'll be going over today is new properties at every stage in the biological hierarchy. One important term to know is something called emergent properties. And emergent properties are novel properties that result because of the arrangement and interaction of individual parts as the complexity of a system increases. For example, photosynthesis, which is a process that occurs in high-level organisms such as plants, occurs only in specialized organisms called chloroplasts, which have to be intact. However, if you take chlorophyll, for example, and other chloroplast molecules and mix them together in a test tube, one can't expect photosynthesis to occur. As a result, photosynthesis is essentially an emergent property because the process can only occur due to an interaction of parts as complexity increases in the organism. Another sub-theme of the larger theme of new properties emerging at each level in the biological hierarchy is the topic of reductionism. In reductionism, essentially, is reducing complex systems into more manageable parts that can be studied. However, the problem with reductionism is that sometimes it's very hard to fully explain a higher order of life just by breaking it down. And this interferes with functioning. For example, it's very hard to understand the chloroplast by just breaking it down into its individual components, such as photosystems and chlorophyll molecules. It needs to be in one cohesive unit to actually function and carry out photosynthesis. Another good example was DNA. Although reductionism was important for Watson and Crick to determine the structure of DNA and propose a chemical basis of inheritance, the problem was they were not able to understand its interactions with the rest of the cell, and they were never able to understand the interaction of DNA with other molecules. Another sub-theme of this larger theme is called systems biology, in which scientists model dynamic behavior of whole biological systems based on studying the whole system rather than its individual parts or interactions. And this is important because it can help scientists predict how a change in one variable can affect others. And system biology has implications in many different fields. For example, looking at effects of global warming and increased carbon dioxide in the environment and how that could shape ecosystems, and in the drug development process, where some sorts of drugs could cause adverse side effects, and see how different changes in the body can affect other parts. Another major theme in biology is how organisms interact with each other and their physical environment. On this page, I'll provide a schematic that goes over some examples of organismal reactions with the environment and other organisms. One example, as you can see at the top, is sunlight. And this provides energy for the tree to photosynthesize. Another example is the cycling of chemical nutrients. For example, when the leaves fall off a tree, they go to the ground, where they decompose. And these nutrients and minerals can then go back up to the tree and be used for the tree as food and nutrients. Another example is when animals like this elephant eats the leaves of the tree, and then these go into the elephant's digestive system and then come out as manure and then can decompose and then be taken up by the tree again. So as you can see, just within this small example, there are a large number of organismal interactions between the organism and the environment. Another major theme in biology is a theme called energy transfers and transformation. On this slide, I'll be going over two major forms of transfers and transformation. One example is photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, light is absorbed, and inorganic nutrients such as carbon dioxide and water are used to produce sugars, such as glucose. So in essence, these inorganic nutrients are converted into a form of chemical potential energy, and this is a form of energy transfer and transformation. Another example of this theme is cellular respiration, which is in essence the opposite process of photosynthesis. Chemical potential energy in the form of sugars such as glucose can be broken down and then be used by the cell. Another major theme in the study of biology is a correlation of structure and function. This essentially means that a device works because it's correlated with its structure. On this slide, I provide several examples. The thin, flat shape of a leaf is important mainly because it maximizes the area for absorbing light, and this enhances the leaf's productivity or output in terms of photosynthesis. Wing bones is another example because they're used in flight, and as a result, they have an internal honeycomb structure, and this reduces the weight and density of the bone, allowing the bird to fly. Another major theme in biology is the cell as the basic unit of structure and function. All cells have membranes, which is a common characteristic. And membranes are important because they can regulate the inside environment versus the outside environment, and can control the passage of molecules and solutes from the inside to the cell and the outside of the cell. There are two main basic types of cells, eukaryotic and prokaryotic. Eukaryotic cells are considered the more complex of the two because they have membrane-bound organelles, and they also have a nucleus, which contains DNA. And just to elaborate, some membrane-bound organelles are chloroplast, mitochondria, and Golgi. However, prokaryotic cells don't have a nucleus to contain DNA, and they don't have any membrane-bound organelles. One of the most complex organelles that prokaryotes have are ribosomes, which are important in translation. Another major theme in biology is the continuity of life due to DNA. An extremely important part of cells is chromosomes, and chromosomes are made up of DNA. And DNA has genes, and genes are important because they encode information that is necessary for life. And proteins are produced as a result of these gene expression. And these are cellular products that are important for many different functions in the cell, such as synthesis of larger molecules and carrying out a wide variety of processes, such as photosynthesis or cellular respiration. And very recently, there has been a lot of interest in studying the genes, chromosomes, and DNA of different cells, and comparing these characteristics with a wide variety of organisms. And the entire library of genetic instructions that an organism has or inherits from its parents is called the genome. And the study of an organism's genome with respect to that of other organisms is called genomics, and it's an extremely popular topic in today's biological research. On this slide, I'll be going over one of the last major themes in biology: feedback mechanisms. There are two main types of feedback mechanisms: negative feedback and positive feedback. Negative feedback is one of the most common feedback mechanisms in the human body. In negative feedback, the end product inhibits an earlier step in the pathway. One common example is glycolysis, in which the end product of glycolysis inhibits one of the first steps in its production. Another type of feedback mechanism, which is less common, is called positive feedback. And this process is in which the end product actually speeds up the process. One example of positive feedback is blood clotting. And when a blood vessel is damaged, platelets aggregate at the site of the damage, and this causes more and more platelets to actually aggregate and form the clot. I hope this video explained major themes in biology. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.